Bad news in a good way. In this video, we will talk about an extremely unusual situation that appeared on the Digital Foundry channel. At any time in the history of Digital Foundry, have they recorded at least one video that defends the graphics in some PlayStation game? Probably not. And has Digital Foundry ever made a video defending the graphics in an Xbox game? They did it at least once in such a direct way. And that video will be the subject of this episode. As you probably guessed, I'm talking about the video that defends the graphics in Halo Infinite. Just to be clear, I know that's an old video, and that Halo looks a bit better these days. But we are commenting on the critics' work here, not the game itself.
Did you feel underwhelmed by the graphical presentation found in Halo Infinite as shown off in the Xbox Series X showcase? Would you say it looks flat or current gen? Well, then this video is for you, as I will try and explain why you may feel this way based upon the trailer. And really, I think it can be easily explained, and it all comes down to lighting for the most part. What do I mean here by lighting? Well, let us look at the terrain and time of day here present in the trailer. The sun is hanging around the horizon with a lot of intervening terrain or trees. If you looked at this terrain from a 2D version, it would probably look like this, where you would see a lot of the gameplay space as present in this trailer is out of reach of direct lighting from the sun, either because you're in a valley, a dell, or the sun's light is otherwise obscured somehow. Simply put, a large portion of this gameplay video showcases shots and scenarios that are out of direct sunlight and in shadow.
Simply put, a large portion of this gameplay video showcases shots and scenarios that are out of direct sunlight in
shadow.
We're in an awful lot of trouble!
Would you say it looks flat or current gen?
Just for the record, theoretically, 3D graphics are never and cannot be flat, because 3D by definition is three-dimensional. But of course, it can look flat, like the Earth, in the dreams of some Phil Spencer fanboys. I can agree with Alex that lighting helps graphics. However, he made a lot of mistakes. I suspect he did that intentionally, because there are no arguments to defend what Microsoft has shown. And what keeps 3D graphics from looking flat? First of all, the colors. If the background is the same color as the characters or other objects on the screen, we have the impression of flat graphics. Lighting, as Alex mentioned, is very important, because thanks to light you can show how the graphics look at all. Without light, we have a black picture, of course. However, keep in mind that light alone will not make the graphics any less flat. Shadows are also important. But that's not all. Graphics, apart from flat textures, must have sculpted details on which the light will reflect and the shadow will emphasize it. In addition to detailed shapes, they must also use appropriate materials. And matching gradients and textures should also take into account darker and lighter places. And finally, textures need to be covered with appropriate effects and micro details. Most of this stuff in Halo Infinite is missing, or done wrong, or done in the cheap way. I mean, cheap for the GPU and doesn't cost much computing power. Alex tried to convince us that Halo graphics are top-notch, but all its beauty has faded into the shadows. And while it is obvious to almost everyone that Alex was talking nonsense, let's check it out for the sake of the peace of mind. Let's split it in half. The right side will remain unchanged, and the left side will be the dark side.
Power of the dark side.
I mean in the shadow. As you can see, the details haven't disappeared. They are still here. Only the left side is darker. Well, maybe I gave too little shade. And what? No change again. So let's make a super dark shadow. As expected, the details have not disappeared. So, a completely different result than in Alex's fairy tale. Because, according to what he says, the graphics in the shadows should look like this. But, if someone is extremely stubborn, they can say, what do I care about graphics? How does it look in reality? Okay. I allowed myself to make a few short video clips to show you how it looks in reality. Just be warned, nature is merciless for this fairy tale.
So if you go back and look at textures in games like Halo Reach, like on the assault rifle here, you can see a lot of smaller detail on that gun model. It looks really detailed no matter what the lighting is in the environment, but it's not physically accurate at all.
See it for yourself. A knife. In the daylight, the sun scorches. Not an ounce of shade. Now let's go into the shade. In the shadow, knife still looks the same. Details have not disappeared. Well, some bot will say that a knife is not a gun. Let's check the gun. Gun in the sun. Gun in the shadow. Again, no flat shit. All details are here. Aside from this embarrassing attempt with shadows, Alex did something even stupider in his video. He decided to depreciate the graphics in Sony games to defend poor Halo. However, he did not understand that by comparing the next-gen game to the games of the past generation, he simply mocked Microsoft's production. Because all the Sony games he showed looked better than the flagship game being prepared for the Xbox Series X, the most powerful console ever made. But in order not to be groundless, let's see and analyze what he did.
But there are associated issues with this decision of using real-time lighting and real-time shadowing. For one, real-time direct lighting and real-time shadowing is more expensive than lighting and shadowing being static. So a game like The Last of Us Part 2 ends up saving a lot of performance in its lighting, which is static primarily.
He is experiencing what is known as cognitive dissonance. Well, like every X-bot, he believed in Phil's fairy tales that the Xbox Series X will be a super powerful console that will take us to the graphical heaven, and, on the other hand, he sees such nasty shit that Microsoft showed at the presentation of the most important game for the Xbox platform. In this case, Alex decided to sell us fat lies. The first bullshit is that Halo uses a more advanced lighting system. I don't know what is advanced in making hardware waste computing power on things that can be done by developers' hand with much better results. Alex is trying to tell us that the lighting in Halo Infinite is more advanced than in Naughty Dog's game. It was such an excuse. An excuse that was supposed to sound good. But what does it mean when translated into human language? This means that Halo Infinite looks worse than The Last of Us because Halo uses a more advanced lighting technique. What idiocy, but someone who doesn't understand technical gibberish swallow this shit like a hungry pelican. Luckily, there are wild ponies. The second lie is the game has problems with correct lighting of characters.
Static lighting has the advantage as well as being able to easily represent light bouncing around a scene. So those static regions in shadow tend to look rather nice as that bounce lighting is baked into the surface of the object. Though there are downsides, of course, to using static lighting. Static lighting requires a lot of iteration time in development, as any change to a scene by an artist will require the lighting to most likely be recalculated. Static lighting's inherent nature also means that there are realism problems with it and consistency problems. Any dynamic object in a scene with static lighting primarily, those dynamic objects will be lit completely different than the static objects in the environment.
In my opinion, this bastard is lit properly. First of all, the action takes place on a dark foggy day in some abandoned store. There are no light sources in the room. Light only comes through the store window. Second, you can easily confirm that this dude is properly lit by forcing him to leave the store. Then, you can see the lighting of the character is changing to match the aura outside.
This is something that happens in all games with static lighting.
What is actually happening? Okay. This place is not the best location in the game, and the lighting for this tent is not done well. The cartoons don't look very good, but it is the only such element of environment in this location. Why are the other boxes nearby not so bright? Maybe the cartons aren't badly lit at all. Maybe they're just very bright, and the camera isn't showing everything. By the way, these cartons do not float, which is perfectly visible in the photo mode. But fuck those boxes. What surprises me more is that we were told the soldier's knee should not be illuminated. I look at this scene and I don't see any evidence that this guy's knee shouldn't be lit. Where is the proof of what Alex says? According to Alex, the light source is somewhere here. Indeed, the crates should block the light, and that shouldn't illuminate the soldier's legs. But this is perfectly fine. According to DF, it is a more advanced lighting technique. If it is so important to properly illuminate the knee of some NPC in The Last of Us, let's see how the NPCs and the surroundings are illuminated with this more advanced lighting system used in Halo. As you can see, the fight in this game not only looks awfully infantile, it also fires various lighting effects. Do these lighting effects illuminate the surroundings? Nope. Why do rifle fire not illuminate either the rifle, hands, and the surroundings? Why is this blue glow not illuminating the surroundings? Floor under his feet should be blue. Exploding shield. Fake light, transparent to the animation. Something like this. Shouldn't this blow current be emitting light as well? Maybe at least one knee is properly lit? Nope. It's probably such an advanced lighting system that we just don't even understand why we don't see the lighting where it should be. And how does it look like in this less advanced static lighting system? Even a PS3 game can do that. But probably, only less advanced lighting systems can display such effects. But let's go back to the scene that Alex analyzed. What if the player goes to this location and sees where the light source really is? In fact, the light source is not where we thought it was. The light source is located under the ceiling of the tent. Therefore, the lighting of objects behind the boxes is not so inexplicable. To be clear, I realize that the lighting in the second part of The Last of Us is not perfect, especially in this location. But it's still very good, and comparing it to Halo is something unimaginable to me. I want you not to eat the bullshit. Nothing can protect Halo and how it looks like. Neither the lighting system nor fairy tales about details hidden in the shadows. The lighting system used in Halo is a regular auto shit that didn't cost the developers much effort. You can see it with your own eyes.
Video game graphics nearly uniformly are not great at representing areas that are primarily in shadow. You see, Halo Infinite looks to be utilizing real-time lighting and real-time
showing such games as The Last of Us, Horizon, Death Stranding was to set Halo among the graphic colors. Of course, anyone with eyes can see that something is wrong here, because Halo not only looks worse than all the games listed here, but Halo also looks worse than a lot of other and average games. The gap between Sony games and Halo is gigantic. Alex, of course, knew that. That's why he chose this scene from Horizon. The action of Horizon Zero Dawn in 99% takes place in open spaces. The same types of landscapes as those on the Halo gameplay shown. But for some reason, Alex decided to reach for a very rare location in Horizon, some room with low lighting. To be fair, he should show material like this, where not only the scenery is similar, but even the time of day and the position of the sun are similar. But he couldn't do that because his thesis would collapse again. Anyway, his thesis that the Halo action takes place in the shadows, and because of this, the graphics look bad, refutes even his own video material, which clearly shows that the game takes place in both scenarios, in the sunlight and in the shadows. Even on the famous Craig memes, you can see the sun in the background. You see the sun illuminating the scene. There are no obstructions to create a shadow, and Craig looks the way he looks. Like a meme. To put it mildly, Halo doesn't offer an advanced graphics engine. On the contrary, it offers a primitive, economical light and shadow system that has its roots in the PS3 and 360 era. But it is not everything. Halo also has an archaic, kitschy, and infantile design, completely incompatible with the created, pompous, serious atmosphere of the game. The Guardians look like Power Rangers. The design of the enemies is also infantile. These type of enemies is more suited to a game like Ratchet and Clank. Monkeys and armors, some funny creatures, and spaceships that look like from the Playmobil kit. In addition, this landscape design, straight from Minecraft. Who approved it? The icing on the cake are terribly poor animations, both during gameplay and during the cutscenes. Look at this fake Joel. Look at how idiotic he is acting. How unnatural gestures and facial animation are. During the mocap session, they captured the moves of the wife arguing with her drunk husband.
I'll be safe. Safe? I haven't been safe since I found you. I found you, remember? You were out there on your own. You'd still be out there if it wasn't for me. I thought I was going home. There won't be a home if we don't stop the building.
Alex compares Halo to Naughty Dog game. Notice how Naughty Dog grew up with their fans. They started with a Crash Bandicoot platformer, then more advanced Jak and Daxter, then Uncharted, and finally, The Last of Us.
Please. Let me see what I can find. Cannons first.
Halo and 343 studios are stuck in the past. Halo is still the same team game it was a long time ago. The problem is that even teenagers are more demanding these days.
With something truly epic, our first look at the next chapter in the Master Chief story, Halo Infinite.